Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today we're diving into something really special. We're going to take a classic, well-known narrative, The Fable of the Thirsty Crow, and we're looking at it through a completely new lens. We're unpacking it to reveal this absolutely brilliant step-by-step framework for overcoming impossible obstacles. Seriously, this isn't just some simple old story. It is a literal masterclass in problem-solving, resilience, and resourcefulness. So if you've ever felt completely stuck, exhausted, and just totally out of options, you are in exactly the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. It is very hot and there is no water to be found. I am so thirsty and tired. I want you to really sit with that for a second. Just let the slow, dramatic reality of those words sink in. We're starting this explainer at absolute rock bottom. The protagonist of our source material, the crow, is operating in extreme heat, experiencing total exhaustion, and the stakes, well, they could not possibly be higher. This is pure survival mode. It's a massive systemic failure of his environment. The fatigue is setting in, creating a crisis that demands an immediate, profound intervention. Which brings us right to part one of our deconstructed narrative arc. Section 1, The Desperate Search.
So, when faced with extreme necessity, what's the default response? Frantic searching. The source material tells us the crow flew everywhere, here and there, looking around for a long time. You know the feeling. You're expending whatever tiny bit of energy you have left, desperately seeking an easy prepackaged solution to your problem. We've broken down the exact crisis parameters at play here. We've got intense heat, a complete lack of visible water, and a protagonist experiencing severe fatigue and thirst. This beautifully lays out the fundamental architecture of a seemingly insurmountable physical and emotional crisis. Think about the last time you faced a massive challenge in your own life or work. The variables usually look exactly like this, right? External pressure in the form of the heat, a lack of obvious resources, like the water, and internal depletion, represented by that fatigue. The environment is hostile, the goal is absent, and the engine is just running on empty.
Now we transition into the second act of our analysis. Section 2, An Unreachable Solution.
In any major crisis, hope often momentarily surfaces. The crow finds a pot, and this brilliantly illustrates the agonizing gap between our goals and our current reality. The goal? Drink the water discovered inside. The reality? It's at the very bottom and completely out of physical reach. Just pause and think about the heavy, dramatic weight of that realization. You finally find exactly what you're looking for, but a structural barrier, the shape of the pot and the low water level, blocks your access entirely. The source explicitly notes that the crow tried his best but could not reach the bottom, and he became very sad. It's the ultimate false dawn. All that effort, seemingly for absolutely nothing. But here is where the narrative shifts from a tragedy to a masterclass. The crow sits on the pot and asks a pivotal question. What should I do now? I'm very thirsty. When will I get some water to drink? Consider the sheer weight of this question. This right here is the critical emotional pivot point. He doesn't just succumb to the sadness. He doesn't just give up and accept his fate. He acknowledges the severity of the situation. He is still very thirsty, but he pivots from despair to active problem solving. Asking, what should I do now, is literally the ultimate statement of agency in the middle of a crisis.
And that brings us to Section 3, The Pebble Strategy. This is the turning point, folks. The tempo completely changes here. The moment the crow stops despairing, he starts actively observing his surroundings. He isn't looking for water anymore, he's looking for leverage. And that's exactly when he spots the pebbles lying on the ground. Suddenly, an idea strikes. Let me use these pebbles and put them in water. I love this quote because it frames a sudden spark of inspiration as a mechanical, logical solution to a purely physical problem. The crow is moving completely away from raw survival instinct, which was just flying around desperately, and shifting into calculated ingenuity. He looks at entirely unrelated objects, dry, hard stones on the ground, and sees a powerful tool to manipulate his environment.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can actually view this ancient fable sequence as a rigorous, step-by-step scientific methodology. I mean, we're talking about a bird dropping rocks, but let's look at the science. Step 1, collect pebbles from the ground, gathering the data, the resources. Step 2, drop pebbles into the pot one by one. This is the execution phase. It's repetitive, it takes sustained effort, and it requires immense patience. Step 3, water slowly and steadily rises to the top. Cause and effect, action and reaction. The crow essentially applies the principle of fluid displacement to save his own life. It's not magic, it's physics, executed with perfect, deliberate consistency. This leads us right into our final dramatic act. Section 4. Willpower and the Way.
We finally get to see how this slow, steady, calculated methodology pays off. The source text gives us this fantastic moment of realization. Yep, at last I have some water to drink. You can just feel the immense energetic relief in that statement. The crow's idea worked. His ultimate success is realized, and he quenches his desperate thirst. All that hard work, all those individual pebbles dropped one by one, culminate in this fantastic moment of victory before he flies away merrily. It is the perfect payoff to a beautifully executed strategy.
Let's move to and see how this builds by looking at the timeline of the crow's journey. We start with exhaustion, that desperate search in the brutal heat. Then we hit despair, finding the water but realizing it's structurally unreachable. But then comes the pivot to innovation, observing the environment and devising the pebble drop. And finally, triumph, drinking the water and flying away merrily. This perfectly captures the entire mechanical and emotional journey we've just analyzed. It's an incredible blueprint for navigating any seemingly impossible situation from start to finish.
So the crucial point is simple. Where there's a will, there is always a way. This is the core takeaway of our explainer today. And this isn't just a motivational platitude. As we've seen through this breakdown, ingenuity powered by sheer willpower can absolutely overcome severe physical limitations. The will is the refusal to give up when the water is sitting uselessly at the bottom of the pot. The way is the analytical process of figuring out how to use those pebbles. You absolutely need both to survive and succeed.
Which leaves us with this final critical question for you to consider. What pebbles can you use to solve the seemingly unreachable goals in your own life? Look at the challenges in front of you right now. Maybe you're fatigued. Maybe the resources you need seem entirely out of reach. But what are the small, overlooked things lying on the ground around you that, if you picked them up and applied them one by one, could raise the water level and completely change your reality? Take that provocative thought with you today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. And hey, keep looking for your pebbles.